So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our another special video. And this particular video is on Bhagya Uday. What is Bhagya Uday? Bhagya Uday means rise of luck, the birth of luck. And this particular video actually was sparked by my last video that I made of Mars in the 6th house of the Samsa chart. Because somebody commented on that video, and this is why you got to know, I read comments. Because sometimes you just never know where the next idea or motivation will come from. So this particular person, as you see here, commented about, saying that, well, I'm not really serving people. Maybe I should do a job because I guess it's not going to raise my luck. And obviously I replied to them about this particular, technique that I'm going to show you here. So first of all, for us, Bhagya Uday, usually we look at Bhagya, meaning the luck, the house of luck, in an astrological chart as your 9th house. 9th house represents the deeds of your ancestors and what their deeds are. See, 9th house represents the deeds of the ancestors and what luck you're getting, being born in that particular family. And then 9th from the 9th. So if you go 9, meaning luck of your luck, becomes the 5th house, which is known as the house of Purva Punya Bhava, meaning your past life deeds. Now we're talking about your past life deeds with the 5th house. 9th house represents what has the lineage accumulated, which is supposed to either help you or not help you in terms of your luck. And especially if you look from your ascendant, is where we're counting the 9th house, meaning it's showing the luck of the body. How lucky is your body to experience things in this life? How lucky is your body to, get into a relationship, get married, have children, have grandchildren, have great-grandchildren? Can you survive that long? How much you will enjoy your wealth? It's about, can your body sustain this 5 sensory world? Because of course the world is made of literally, 108 different sensories. If you even get to 7 sensory world, you would have superpowers. But we only have this 5 sensory world to deal with. But then you want to also understand that each house in your particular chart, whether it's a house of wealth, which is the 2nd house, 4th house of your home, mother, land, real estate, 12th house of your spirituality, 8th house of occult, each house itself is bringing its own bhagya. Each house is bringing its own luck. So from the 10th house, which is known as, especially nowadays, the house of your career, meaning what is it that you're doing in society? What is it that you're supposed to be doing in society? Because back in the days, 10th house wasn't the house of career. It was simply the house of what you're going to follow through your lineage. Meaning if your father was a farmer, you're going to become a farmer. You can't just go out there and become a philosopher, because society would have looked at you in a very different manner. It wouldn't have been the most admirable thing that you would be doing. So of course that there was a society pressure, and I'm sure many people would have broken off from that, but that's what it was. If your father was a blacksmith, you're going to be a blacksmith. If your father was this philosophical scholar advising the king, well, you're going to be that too. You're the next in line. But the thing is, especially now, since we're considering career, what is the bhagya of your career? Because 9th house from any house becomes the feeding. Until you feed, the other house will not be feeling fulfilled. So 10th house of career, 9th from itself will become the 6th house. 6th house, besides the house of deaths and diseases and work rivals and competitions and affairs and all of those things. It is also pretty much the most, in its most basic essence, is the house of service. And what it shows here, until you serve either a single individual on one-on-one basis or society at large, where they're feeling served from you, you cannot feed your 10th house. And that means if you can feed it, then the Bhagya is not going to be rising. It's not going to become Uday. So that's the first thing. So for example, wealth, second house, right? How much can you save in your bank account? Through whatever you're doing, what are you accumulating in the second house? Well, 9th from the second house is the 10th house. Until you actually work and go out in society and say, I'm here to do something, you will not be feeding your second house. So 10th house then becomes the Bhagya Uday of the second house. Let's look at children. For example, let's say if you are a Scorpio ascendant, or let's say even if you're an Aries ascendant, make it simple. 5th house becomes the sign of Leo. 9th from itself becomes the sign of Aries. So 9th from the 5th house of children is you. Until you are fed, until you are healthy, until you take care of your body the right way, the house of children is not going to be fed. Because until you're healthy, you can't have children. Until you're healthy, you can't learn. Until you're healthy, you will not be able to increase your intelligence, because your whole focus of your prana and your soul goes towards, okay, well, let's get this machine going before we can see what this machine can produce. If the machine is supposed to produce printed newspapers, well, that's what it's giving once it's healthy. So you got to make it healthy for this machine to work. You look at spirituality, or let's say, spirituality. You want to be focusing on your spiritual life, yet something always just comes up. You're just not able to focus. As much as the desire is there, you're not able to do it. Well, then look at the Bhagya of your spirituality. Spirituality is the 4th house, which also then becomes bed pleasures. If those things are suffering, if you can't travel to foreign lands, look at the Bhagya of the 12th house, which is the 8th house, which is 9th from itself. So until the 8th house is active, until you feed the 8th house of being isolated, contemplating, researching deep into things which are away from what you know, you understand spirituality. Same thing for occult. You want to be a great astrologer, a great palmist, a great tarot reader, and yet you're not able to. Well, the Bhagya, the luck of that particular house becomes the 4th house. So until your 4th house is fed, you're not going to be able to raise that 8th house of luck. So now we want to know, well, how can we activate that Bhagya, that Uday of Bhagya? Well, simplest thing to do is look at the sign that is placed, the zodiac sign. Not even the nakshatra, look at the zodiac signs that is placed 9th from any house. See what planet is controlling that house. What deity has been assigned to that particular planet in Vedic astrology? So, for example, if let's say you're having issues with children, you want to have children, and you're just not able to have children, and yet you are a Sagittarius ascendant, that means 9th from Sagittarius becomes the sign of Leo. Leo is controlled by Sun. Sun in Vedic astrology is either controlled by Lord Ram or Shiva. So until you go give your penance or your honoring to Shiva or to Lord Ram, you're not going to be able to feed that house. So once you activate it, it becomes like this remedy, this magic thing that, okay, I am going to the manager of that particular house. I'm not just talking to the supervisor, I'm going to the actual manager that, hey, I have this problem, please help me solve this problem. And you will see the problem get solved. If, for example, you are a, let's say, Scorpio ascendant, that means if you have issues in your career, that means Leo is in your 10th house. What is 9th from Leo? Sign of Aries, which is Mars. So that means if that house is suffering, only if that house is suffering, you either go towards deities or lords like Hanuman or Narsimha, okay? And there's these other Devata tools associated with Mars. Each region of India will have a different, god assigned to pretty much any zodiac sign or lord. So until you go to that particular manager and say, hey, help me, and, please help me resolve this issue, you will see those issues get resolved. And what is the simplest thing is that the first thing you will think of, like, okay, well, if Hanuman is something that I need to kind of worship, give my penance to, well, what are you going to do? You're going to go to a Hanuman temple. That's the automatic thing. Okay, but what direction is Mars is showing? Mars, which is the lord of the sign of Aries, because, hey, you're a Scorpio sun and you want to raise your luck. And you just watched this video. Well, Mars represents the south direction. So first thing you should understand is going to a Hanuman temple, you should go to a Hanuman temple which is south from where you live. Not some country, just city. Look in the southern direction where that temple is. Go to that temple. And especially if that temple has, let's say, north direction opening. Well, then go to the southern direction first. Go to the southern direction and give your penance to that particular god. Then go back and enter the temple and you will see how strongly you will feel the presence of that particular god or deity that you want to call when you do this. And this is just the basics of planets and directions or signs and direction. Like sun will represent the east, Venus will represent southeast, Jupiter will represent northeast, Saturn is west, Mercury is north, Moon is northwest, Rahu is southwest, Ketu is northeast, because Ketu is always directly opposite to Rahu. Mars is south. So just by knowing this, you will know, okay, 9th from itself is Venus. And if it's Venus that who I need to please, well, I'm going to have to go to Lakshmi. And I should look for a temple which is in southeast direction from where I live. And if you don't, if you're in, let's say, some foreign country where a temple, the only temple that is there is north from you, well, that's fine. But go to the southeast direction first of that particular temple. Walk to the southeast, give your penance, and then walk into the whichever main door direction is, they'll let you enter. Not only that, by doing the duties towards the sign of that house will also activate the Bhagya of that house. So for example, you want to become better at your occult knowledge. 9th from 8th house becomes the 4th house. 4th house is home, mother, land. Serve the land. Put some plants in the land. Ask your mother, hey, do you need help? What can I do for you? That automatically also becomes one of those things that activates the feeding process to the 8th house. So this is what Bhagya is. Now, of course, I can go into details with every sign and, every planet, but then again, that will take like too long. And, I just don't think many people will be interested in that long of a video. But anyway, if you actually want to know, what sign is where and what planet and their deities will bring you Bhagya, check out the links here, astrologykrs.com under shop section, so you can get the PDF report. But also you got to understand, it is very different from doing a chart reading from somebody from India versus somebody from outside, somebody from the West. Like most of the things that we'll think of in terms of remedial measures, some of the predictions that I even mentioned in the Navamsha article, you can make those same predictions for somebody in the West. It won't work that way. A lot of times, things that work in India, they completely don't work in the Western side. And most of the time, I'm doing readings of people from mostly outside of India. So again, I run into people who are Orthodox Christian, and they would be Catholics or Jewish, and they will not feel comfortable doing some of these things. That's fine, and you have all the right to not do it. But I'm just saying this because that's all I know. I can only tell you what I know. I can say, well, Christ is being represented by this sign, this Lord. It hasn't been researched. Unless, obviously, we know that Revati Nakshatra is connected with Christ, but that's a completely different thing than what I'm showing here. But do the activities of that house. Like with the career, you serve. When you serve, you make it. Until you're serving, it's far different than somebody who feeds food to people versus somebody who on a desk doing some programming. You got to ask yourself, what service am I giving by doing this programming? Is it really giving one-on-one service to someone? Is it really directly impacting someone, or is it impacting the company that I'm working for, and then they're impacting another company, and maybe this, maybe that? But service is service. It's black and white. There's no gray area with service. Until you serve, you have a health product. You're feeding people. You're giving people home. You're giving people clothes. That's service. Those are the basic essence of service. Okay. Anyway, guys, we'll talk to you later. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe below so you don't miss these type of videos. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.